Let's dive deeper into the action with our markets reporters. Abigail, what are you watching?
You know, Joe, similar to Sarah, I'm thinking about S&P 3000, and similar to what Sarah was saying, it is largely psychological in effect. But when we take a look at this one-year chart of the S&P 500, we see the index has had a hard time rising above this level. All the volatility over the last 12 months and more recently going above it just a little bit. This chart has two implications, perhaps. One, algos could really be up there, that technical trading that Sarah was talking about. Two, the index is really having a hard time making above it with a rounding down RSI. It may just suggest that we maybe do another whipsaw back down into the range, Taylor.
Well, Abigail, I'm taking a look at the SOX index. At one point, it was up 1.4%, and it was outperforming the broader market by more than a full percentage point. This is interesting because we've had no trade news today, so perhaps no news is good news when it comes to the China trade talks. And as we know, this sector and this index has been so sensitive and such a gauge of where we are within the midst of the trade fight. I wanted to look at some of the individual stocks because it's been Qorvo, Xilinx, AMD, NVIDIA, sort of all of these companies with big exposure to revenue that all make up the SOX index. And here in a terminal chart that I'm showing to our Bloomberg customers, you can see the SOX index really rising in blue and creating a bit of a divergence here between DRAM prices, which have been bottoming out. Analysts were really wondering, would the SOX come down to DRAM? Would DRAM come up to the SOX? In the case of Micron, Credit Suisse is saying they actually could have a profitable bottoming out cycle. Micron, we know, gets 70% of their revenue from DRAM memory related chips. So at least for today, another good news for the chip makers. Renita?
Taylor, I'm closing it out, taking a look at the U.S. dollar climbing as global economic fears intensify, and weaker than expected Eurozone manufacturing data really started to renew the concerns that global economic growth is slowing. Now, the greenback is now mixed versus its G10 peers, and the Bloomberg Dollar Index is rising. Market manufacturing PMI, as you know, which was reported earlier today, that September data rose, signaling the U.S. economy continued to show more resilience in some sectors, even though Christine Lagarde, who will take over the ECB as president in November, reportedly said the U.S.-China trade dispute is the world's biggest challenge for the world's economy.